The electrics keep coming and they keep getting more and more exciting. One of the brands that's bringing in a whole lot of them to us, Mercedes-Benz India. And the latest one to get here is the EQA. Let's talk about that and the strategy with Santosh Iyer.
Thanks, Siddharth, for joining us.
Wonderful to see you. What a great setting. And yes, this car, very promising indeed. Not just because, I know we've been waiting for it. I know I have been talking with you about it for a long time. But, because it finally represents an entry into a more accessible space with your electric portfolio. How relevant is it? How important is it for Mercedes-Benz India?
No, I think for us, when we looked at electrics, we started way back in 2020. We bought the EQC at that point of time to test the waters. But the first car we localized was the EQS, right on the top of the pyramid, because we felt that electrification will flow a bit top down with a lot of customers, preferring who have charging at home, for example, to get into electrics and then get into the other segments. Over a period of time, we have come from, we have the EQB now, a bit above the segment. But I think for us, EQA was always well awaited, but it's a global bestseller in our portfolio.
Yes.
More than 130,000 cars being sold. So we were also waiting for the right time to get us right amount of cars, because what we don't want to do, which we had an issue during the EQC, is we launched the car, there was a huge, request for cars, and then we couldn't supply those cars at some point of time. And I think that's important. So we have already planned. And these cars are available. 8th of July, these cars will be available for sale in India.
Shekhar was asking me before we started, will these peacocks making a racket be a problem? So I said, I'm just going to say it's your competition wailing about this package.
And it's nature at its best, yeah.
Yeah, it also matches the peacocks. But anyway, on a more serious note, the point you made about getting the order book in and not having the cars, is this buyer a little bit more fickle? Like, do they get, because they're already kind of on the fence, they're still a little tentative, and then that wait just kind of pushes them back to the other side?
Exactly. In my experience, what we have seen is there are a few hardcore electric car buyers in the market. Most of them are customers who are considering luxury cars at a certain price segment. And then, of course, when they come to our dealership, our sales guys try to sell them the value proposition. Some of them are able to do it well, some not. And in that sense, and then they take the leap of faith. So it's important that the cars are available, because unlike other cars, it's not like a customer will wait forever. And that becomes more critical to get the supplies as well when we are launching a product and also explaining the cars to customers.
But the reason I was smiling was because your past experience, a lot of these people, in fact, maybe most of them, it's not their first car. It's not their only car in the household. With this one, that could change.
Exactly.
I mean, again, it may not be the only one, but you'd get a different buyer profile. How does it compare with the GLA profile?
It is, I would say, very similar to GLA profile, because if you look at the on-road price of these two cars, it's one of our best-selling cars. But if you look at the on-road pricing of these two cars, thanks to the zero road tax in many cities like Delhi, Bombay, and so on and so forth, this will be almost at similar price point of a GLA. So definitely from a price perspective, it's almost there. Slightly bit more expensive, but still, the TCO is compelling. So the customer would be same. Here it is all also about, our consumers stay in large, say, housing societies or complexes, and people have Mercedes-Benz and luxury cars. But do I have the green number plate? And I think that's also important, because that's an edge. Do I want to drop my kids to school in a green car? Because the kids are demanding today as well that they want more sustainable solutions and zero tailpipe emissions. And I think that way it fits to the guys and the consumer who are more into today's sustainable living. They consume, of course, organic food or food sourced from responsibly from different areas. So I think there is a different culture coming up among the today's younger generation, and I think this car appeals more to them as such.
And it's good for younger families. But let's talk a little bit more about this. I know you mentioned this to us earlier as well about, how you worked out this sort of interesting pricing equation to show how this actually becomes a more compelling argument than what people think it might be from a monthly payment point of view. How difficult was it to work out that kind of a scheme or that kind of a map?
Frankly, one of the bigger issue with electrification is also the residual value. It comes from the questions on what happens to battery, whether the car will lose its overall resale value in the market. So we said that when we launched the EQA, we will commit a residual value same as a combustion engine GLA, which is 67% of the value of the car at the end of 4 years is committed by Mercedes-Benz. Which means that when you now put this into financial terms, at a down payment of close to 14 odd lakhs, you are ending up paying 68,000 bucks of EMI. which is just 4,000-5,000 rupees more expensive than a GLA. Now, this gets offset from the fuel cost because, of course, the running costs are hardly 1/3 and of the maintenance. So, I think it's a simple equation when it comes to TCO. But yes, electric customers just won't buy only for TCO. That should be there now, but it has to be beyond. And therefore, when you look at the car and the way we configured, right from memory seats in the front, for example, which is there in our core segments, E-Class and above as such, or GLCs, E-Classes. So we have not compromised on the small features, or rather giving a Burmester 12 speaker surround sound system, because we said that yes, it should not be a compromise when somebody comes to electric. It's not a stripped down car, and that's also a core thought while we were designing the EQA.
Now I have to say the kit on the car is actually pretty impressive. It's really well put together. The last point is about your experience with the existing portfolio. You mentioned EQS, etc. Of course, it's a very niche buyer. EQB has been probably a best-selling electric anyway now in India. Silently, sort of, it's built up a certain amount of a run rate. What has that experience been like? Does it show you or give you a lot of lessons for this car?
Obviously, for EQB, we said there's a lot of families or larger families who are opting. It has 7 seats, but we also saw
it's the only one.
It's only one still
in India.
But there again, we found larger families, joint families, young kids. They wanting that space and a functional and a practical car there. And today the EQB sells more than the combustion engine as well, because I think that's a very practical car, electric, the GLB there. So it's a matter of time. I think the transition would happen. If you see our first quarter results, 5 to 6% of our sales today are EVs. It used to be 2 to 2.5% last year. And I'm sure with more new models, we are already committing 3 new EVs by end of this year. The first one for sure being the EQA, and of course the others coming more in the top end segments as well. So I think we are fully committed to the transition. Finally, there is only one final destination, which is zero emission mobility. How do you reach there? By how soon? It's not only us, but the customer, the government, everything has to come together to accelerate the transition.
$1 million question. Okay, so last question. Then you mentioned that there's this and then 2 more EVs coming. What about the non-EVs? What are you going to get us this year, or how many?
So we said total 12 product launches, out of which 6 have happened, 6 are yet to come. Out of 6, 3 are EVs, and the balance 3 are combustion engine. So a healthy portfolio. Of course, it's not a secret. One of them is the long wheelbase E-Class, which is one of our flagship sedan. Yeah, it's much awaited. But even our current E-Class is flying off the shelf. We have hardly 500 odd units left now. So we can see that there is a lot of love for the product and the car. So that's a big one coming at the end. And then there are 2 up our sleeves.
Yes, with the E-Class as well, I think tech becomes a huge game changer. So there's lots to look forward to.
Yeah, sure. I think customers, apart from the comfort and the reliability that they expect from Mercedes-Benz today, technology or digital connected cars, what can you do? And including things like ambient lighting, I think there's a lot of premium that customers are paying for these features.
No, and I think they've always sort of looked to your brand to become sort of the one that brings it to them. So good luck with this. I'm sure you're going to have your hands full, because this is CBU. So you'll have to figure out your allocation, I think, because I can see that it's looking like it's going to probably take off. All the best to you with that.
Thank you. Thanks for joining and enjoy the drive.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Always the best part of it all, right?
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.